All right, viewers, there on your screens, you can see visuals coming in from G20 Summit in Johannesburg. Remember, it's been a power-packed two-day summit that's been taking place. But of course, the larger question that now remains before the closing ceremony is set to commence very, very shortly is how is the handover process going to take place? Because we've seen some sort of a tussle between the United States, which is set to chair the G20 Summit, and South Africa, which is the current chair, and the handover process. We do know that Donald Trump has boycotted this particular ceremony. He's had his contentions with South Africa as far as South Africa's actions against Israel, filing the case in the International Criminal Court is concerned. Apart from this, he's also had his contention with South Africa being a member of BRICS. BRICS, of course, has been floating around an idea of its own currency, something that India has not up until now accepted. But on the other side, Donald Trump is seeing this as a threat to the dollar's current standing as the world's standard currency. He's seeing this as a major de-dollarization bid that could then compromise the U.S. dollar. Amidst all of this tussle has been going on between Washington and Pretoria. Washington claims that Pretoria is weaponizing the G20 presidency. But of course, South Africa, particularly Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, has also hit back, stating that boycotts will not work. Bullying will also not work against South Africa. But up until now, there has been no show from any senior Trump administration official as well. Rubio was also not present. He's the Secretary of State in the United States of America. But apart from that, they did in fact move sending one of their staff members from the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria. That was not accepted by the South Africans up until now, as they stated that this is not an appropriate level exchange that would take place, and thereby South Africa then declined the request that was put in by the U.S. administration, citing a lack of accreditation because this request was made just 2 days ago. So we're expecting the closing ceremony to begin very, very soon. But as of now, this is, of course, the drama that is taking place, the tussle that is taking place over the transition. The U.S. has accused, the White House in particular released a statement today itself accusing the South African government of not just weaponizing the presidency, but also not ensuring that a smooth transition takes place. There have been murmurs that no immediate transition will take place. We're likely not to see the gavel being passed on as we've seen in all past editions. This would mark the very first breakage from the protocol that has been followed up until now. Major moment because we do know that the United States is slated to hold the presidency next year. So does this then set the tone for that? In the meantime, we've of course seen a power-packed schedule of all of these leaders, particularly Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He was also present at the gathering. He's already addressed the third and final session that is currently set to conclude very, very shortly. As I've stated earlier, the closing ceremony will be commencing very, very soon. But apart from that, India too has, of course, right there you can see visuals of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Yesterday, of course, he made a major pitch. He had put forth 6 proposals from India, spotlighting multilateralism in particular. He had mooted an Africa Skill Multiplier initiative. He'd also focused on a global healthcare response system and also international collaboration as far as open satellites are concerned, a push for cooperation as far as critical minerals are concerned, and countering the narco-terror nexus as well, setting a blueprint for global progress and prosperity. I'll go through these one by one. All of these are very crucial points that have been put forth by the Indian Prime Minister. We are, in fact, seeing the fact that first up, in the Johannesburg Declaration that was unanimously adopted despite the U.S. not being present and its opposition to it, India's proposal, meanwhile, calls for urgent and coordinated action to overcome the challenge of drug trafficking. Indian Prime Minister has affirmed that the creation of this initiative would help break the narco-terror economy. He's, of course, warned of the spread of extremely dangerous substances such as fentanyl, and has also called for coordinated action to weaken the wretched drug terror economy. Apart from this, the Indian Prime Minister has also focused on creating a global healthcare response system with trained medical professionals from member countries ready for deployment. This, of course, as the Prime Minister stressed, would help countries respond quickly to emergencies, emphasizing that we're all stronger when we work together in the face of health emergencies and natural disasters. We all know what took place just 5 years ago, how the global economy was brought to standstill when COVID-19 wreaked havoc and caused loss of life and devastation for so many families across the globe. The Indian Prime Minister earlier asserted that he's urged the creation of multinational teams of trained experts who are ready for deployment in the case of such health emergencies. Apart from this, India has also proposed the G20 Africa Skills Multiplier Initiative to facilitate Africa's development, especially the workforce transformation. Africa is, of course, showcasing a global role, a growing role in global governance, and its progress is vital for global progress as well. Remember when India had chaired the G20 Summit back in 2023, one of the key highlights was the fact that the African Union was included as a member. That process was initiated by India, emphasizing a global South push, being a voice for the global South as well. This particular initiative now aims at producing 1 million certified skilled workers in Africa over the next decade. Now, the fourth proposal that was made by Prime Minister Modi earlier was the fact that India has rich history in this regard. In the meantime, stating that a global traditional knowledge repository be brought about. India, of course, with its rich history, would emphasize that member nations be allowed to share inherited knowledge systems that would support good health and well-being across the globe. A few actionables to realize this dream of all-round growth would be facilitated by this global traditional repository of knowledge. Apart from this, India has also mooted an open satellite data partnership to make satellite data more accessible, especially to countries in the global south. We have seen India's push, India's successful transition from 2G to 3G to 4G and now 5G. 5G network is practically present all across the country. That's not all. The data rates in India, notably, are the cheapest. So, of course, this is highlighting India's drive to become a voice for the global south, especially through cooperation in technology. Last but not the least, India has called for the creation of a G20 critical minerals circulatory initiative. This aims to advance recycling, urban mining, and second life batteries in particular. It would reduce reliance on primary mining and ease supply chain pressures as well. This initiative calls for support for joint research, global standards, pilot recycling facilities in the global south in particular. Now, why this is crucial is because we've seen the trade war that's going on between the United States and China. Tensions have been simmering for quite a while, although the two countries seem to have reached an understanding. We do know that with Trump weaponizing tariffs, China has now, of course, used its leverage over critical minerals and the supply of critical minerals over the United States head as well. But there, of course, you can see Cyril Ramaphosa. He's standing up at the moment. Live visuals are coming in. Brazil, of course, hosted the session last time itself. And it now seems that the leaders are taking a slight recess at the moment. But in the meantime, of course, you can see these pull-asides that are taking place. Prime Minister Modi also engaged in several key bilaterals, pull-asides, as well as the IBSA leaders meeting. Apart from this, we've seen Prime Minister Modi meet with Mark Carney of Canada, Anthony Albanese of Australia. He also met President Lee Jae-myung of South Korea on the sidelines of the G20 Summit. He interacted with Keir Starmer, British Prime Minister, as well as Emmanuel Macron, the French President. There have been several other bilaterals that have been held by Prime Minister Modi. Focus, of course, on technology, innovation, and India's push for the global south to have a voice poise on such multilateral forums. But coming back to what's taking place on the ground, the visuals that you're seeing, the leaders, of course, are on a slight recess, considering the fact that the third session is concluding at the moment. South Africa, of course, holds the presidency, but the next presidency is slated to be taken over by the United States of America. The larger question is, will the handover process be carried out next week or not? But up until now, the larger question remains on whether this tussle that we've seen between the United States of America and South Africa over the transition of the presidency, does this then set the tone for the U.S.'s presidency next year? We've, of course, seen Trump has not been present. Xi Jinping has also not been present from China. We also know that Russian President Vladimir Putin is also not there. But U.S.'s absence in particular has been very, very noteworthy, because they are the next country that is set to chair the G20. We're expecting it to take place in Washington next year itself. But of course, so that question remains currently, because for the first time, protocol has not been followed. Antonio Guterres on your screens, he's of course the UN Secretary General. The protocol has been broken for the very first time with the United States' absence in this particular summit. It had also recorded its opposition to the declaration, which was adopted even with the U.S. dissenting. Apart from all of that, of course, what remains to be seen is how this process will be carried forth next week. Up until now, we are tracking all of these developments very, very closely, but we'll be dipping into a quick short break. Stay tuned on NewsX for more.